So I want to thank you all for giving up Saturday morning for this. I'm Susan DeGeorge. I'm the stated clerk of the Presbytery. And while I'm happy at the end to answer questions, largely what you're going to hear now is from Jeromey Howard, who has become a real expert in this area. If you don't know Jeromey, Jeromey is our co-chair of COM. He's the pastor at both Thompson Ridge and Montgomery congregations. But he's also the person who both wrote this policy that we have in our presbytery and also helped design the policy that's just gone through the denomination that's being voted on at the moment. So this is a real area of specialization for him. So you've got an expert here in a way that most presbyteries wouldn't have that kind of option. So having that, I can't tell you how much of an advantage that is. So if you've got questions, what we're going to do is Jeremy's going to go through the different possibilities of coverage that are here, both with New York State, with the Presbytery, and then with the Board of Pensions. And then after that, we'll take questions. And the reason we're going to do it in that order is we can keep the video going with just Jeromey during the presentation. And that way we'll turn it off and we'll edit out the questions afterwards so that you can ask anything very specific that you want, and it will not be put up on the video site later. So that's the way we're going to operate on this. Does that work for everyone? Is everybody excellent? All right, so Jeromey, it's all yours.
All right, well, before we I'll pull up some slides here very shortly. Let's open in a quick prayer. Gracious, loving God, first and foremost, we want to say thank you. Thank you for the technology and opportunity to gather together, to learn more and to better equip our congregations, our churches, your church, to live out our calling. As we learn about opportunities, family medical leave and all their forms, let us also remember that there are many out there within the church and outside the church that do not have these opportunities. We ask that you empower us to work in your world to help those who do not have access to them, to have them in their lives and for their needs. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so I'm going to share a slideshow. So just a second. All right. Let's see if I can get it open. Where it went. Why is it not visible? All right, can you all see the slideshow? All right, so as Susan said, co-chair of COM, and she's helping out on this to catch anything for me and add any, especially from the legal side of things. She has much more knowledge than I do in that area. So our agenda today, just a quick introduction, we've already started. I'll talk about Hudson River Presbytery's Family Medical Leave Policy, New York State's Family Leave Act, our Board of Pensions, focusing on the temporary disability, and then open it up to any questions or discussions. So a quick introduction. Hudson River Presbytery has been on the forefront of providing and ensuring family medical leave is available for all clergy. There are many presbyteries who offer something, but not.
Red.
Yeah, wait.
If you're able to mute, Natalie. If not many offer anywhere near what we do as far as any of these areas. Like I said, Susan will bring her expertise from the stated clerk position as well as a minister and legal side, and mine will be from some of my work on writing policies, but also trial and error in my own firsthand experience. So our Hudson River Presbytery's family medical leave policy, it's been in place for a couple of years now. There's a link up there, and we'll share the link later if you need it, but it's under your Committee on Ministry section, under Section 6, Policies and Process Miscellaneous area. You can find that family leave policy. It just says family leave, but it's family medical leave. It's all in there. So if you would like to access that, you can. And I do encourage you, if you haven't yet, to share it with your sessions and people in your congregation so they are aware of all that is part of that. So one thing to make very clear, in this presbytery, our policy applies to all clergy, regardless of gender, serving in a congregation. I put the gender in there, right? Because people think of family leave and they think, oh, someone gave birth. No, it's for all parents. This also includes every form of call we have for a minister of word and sacrament, as well as all of our CREs, CLPs, whatever you want to call them. So that means I don't care if you're a minister somewhere for 15 hours, you get this policy. I don't care if you're a CRE, you're covered by this. We try to design a policy that was inclusive to all those who serve the church as much as we could. So a note on all of this stuff, but especially this one, concurrent leave is not mandatory. So that means, right, that if you need a couple weeks at a time and you need to take a break and it works better for you to do it later, absolutely. My case in point, I'll use my own example. My son was born 2 months early. So I took off to take care of my wife for a little while. He was in the NICU. Taking off, there's nothing I can do, right? So I took about a week off to take care of my wife and everything else, make sure everything's good there. And then I went back to work until my son came home. And then I went back and took some more leave. So it doesn't have to be concurrent. It can be spaced up. We note in the policy as well, vacation can be supplemental, but not substitutive. So you can't some session, or I mean, if you chose, I mean, we're not going to step in and say you can't do that as a clergy if you decide, but a session can't say, well, you have vacation, you need to use that up first. No, this family medical leave can be used, and vacation cannot be used to substitute it or forced to. Reasons are not exhaustive. So we offered some reasons in this policy. Pregnancy, child rearing, adoption, foster care, care of a child, stepchild, all these reasons, serious medical conditions, pastor own illness, bereavement. We offer examples. They are not exhaustive. In my short life in 40 years, I have learned that there are more reasons out there for things than I even understand. So we offer examples, but all other things can apply. All of these leave include all full pay and benefits. So it's not 60%, it's not main pay without benefit, it's everything is included in that. All timeframes are minimums. If a need arises that you need more, we absolutely want you to take it, right? We don't want to have a situation where someone thinks that I used up my bereavement leave or medical leave and I need a little bit more, that like, absolutely, you can't have it. At that point, clergy in the session should be having a conversation around what's possible. And if you need help in those conversations, you can always ask for COM's help in that. And again, that echoes all of this leave taking should be a collaborative effort between the pastor and session, right? It's the session shouldn't be stepping and saying, no, absolutely, you can't take it. Maybe saying you can't take it because we have a good reason, or we'd like you not to take it. And can we find a way forward? It needs to be collaborative, if that makes sense. Some situations are emergent, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's the way it is. So that's a general outline. Now we're going to walk through each section of our policy and talk about some of those. So our parental leave part of it. So for parental leave, it's 12 weeks, full pay and benefits. Again, reminder, vacation can be used as supplemental. This area where it says leave is given at appropriate time, quotations are straight out of our proper policy. That appropriate time is whenever it's needed, right? It can be beforehand. Another personal example, My wife was on bed rest starting at 24 weeks for my first daughter. I needed to spend more time taking care of my wife, who was on strict bed rest, than I did once my child actually got there. So appropriate time tied to maternity, that was when she needed the help. So that was appropriate, right? Again, doesn't have to be concurrent. And our is not maternity leave, it is parental, right? Meaning regardless without gender or who physically delivered a child. We've had those conversations on denominational level, and some here locally. Well, I didn't deliver the child, how much do I get? 12 weeks, right? And there's good reason for that. You can find studies out there that show a double-digit % change in infant mortality when both parents are present in early stages of life. So this isn't just about, hey, I want the time off. This has a measurable impact, even in good countries with modern healthcare. This is a measurable impact. There's an ask to plan ahead, right? We ask that you give 30 days written notice of anticipated start date. Again, noting babies don't keep to a schedule. So I told my church when I had my son was being born, hey, his due date is this date. So my plan is to start taking parental leave at this time through this period. Again, obviously he came 2 months early and decided that schedule could get thrown out the window. And we adjusted, but I did collaborate with my session to make those needs be met for the church as well. Arrangements on when and how to return to work, again, coordination with your session and the clergy. What that means, right, is sometimes, again, I've talked to a couple of clergy here, like, well, do I have to take the 12 weeks? Yeah, you get the full 12 weeks, but what does it look like when you come back? I know one clergy in the area around 10 weeks or so, they started doing more work from home, everything else. They weren't in the office. They weren't moderating session meetings. They weren't doing that, but they were kind of technically back working. So how that phase in happens for you all, we leave that to coordination between session and clergy. So that's a summary of our parental leave. So for our Hudson River Presbytery caregiving and bereavement, granted, and again, coordination with session, we offer 2 weeks of caregiving leave. Again, full pay and benefits. It's time off to provide for any immediate family member. Again, some of those things are defined earlier, but if you have to provide care for a family member, this is when it comes in. And I noted it in this one, but it kind of applies to all of the leave outside of child rearing, right, childbirth, because have more than 2 kids in 52 weeks and we'll see how good you are. But if this applies, so you take 2 weeks of caregiving leave, everything else, on the legal side of stuff, that clock starts for 52 weeks, a year, right? Over the course of a year. We've had that question a few times, and so this is kind of where we're falling on the legal side of it. Is it's 2 weeks over the course of a year, which we measure at 52 weeks. So if we're saying that, because if we took it, if you take something in January, you need to wait 52 weeks. If you take something in November, you need to wait 52 weeks. And I hope that makes sense. Again, if emergencies arrive, you coordinate with your session. This is the minimum, right? The session works with the clergy. If the session says, hey, we can afford to do this and take care of our pastor and give him more caregiving or more bereavement, more leave, absolutely. I don't think COM or anybody at our presbytery is going to step in and say, no, you can't give them more. Again, the bereavement, full pay and benefits. And this is the event of a death of immediate family member. I would encourage, especially level like this, is again, definitely be open to more than once in a 52-week period. If we could control when people die, I would be happy, but we can't. So that would be an area definitely to work with your sessions and coordinate on that and provide good care. Our medical leave side, again, we went for the 12 weeks, full pay and benefits. And this is an important thing to note, shall be offered to those who have been certified by licensed physician needing the time off, right? Similar to some insurance, something else. That means you have to have a medical reason to need to take the time off. That doesn't mean it has to be, this is my stance as the chair of COM, it doesn't have to be a physical medical, right? If you have emotional, mental things that need to be taken care of, whatever it may be, if you need to take time off to address those, that would be included under this. But the big thing is a licensed medical professional, physician, somebody in there to say, you need to be having some time off of work. And I put a note here, and we'll come back to it when we talk about temporary disability, but this is specifically an area too, that to be aware of temporary disability as a potential addition if needed. And that can apply to maternity leave as well. And we'll talk about that here shortly. So let's talk a little bit about the New York State Family Leave Act. And it's an act, but it's insurance that you're getting. The information I'm going to share, I tried to pull the most up to date, and I pulled from the paid family leave from New York State's website. Because again, they've made some changes in the last couple of years on some of this. As of the 1st of January 2018, paid family leave is mandatory in New York State. Almost all employees qualify for paid family leave, and employers must give employees paid family leave. This care was expanded to cover siblings in 2023 for the family care portion. So if you have a brother, sister, whatever that is sick, now that includes that as well. It says here, again, quoting straight off their stuff, paid family leave provides eligible employees job protected paid time off to bond with a newborn, adopt, foster child, care for family members, serious health condition, assist loved ones when a spouse, domestic partner, child, parent is deployed abroad for active military service. So that's a kind of a summary of what the Family Leave Act was intended to cover. So taken from the Family Leave Act, for family bonding, so arrival of a child, up to 12 weeks, they've increased that amount. Now it's at 67% of pay, up to a cap. The current cap as of 2023 is $1,131.08 a week. So that means that's the max they can pay you, a weekly amount. Paid family leave may only begin after birth, again, for the Family Leave Act, and maybe before other arrivals. The other arrivals, right, being if you foster a child, adopt a child, and here it's coming, I need to prepare to whatever, it may. So we'll get into that more, the may part of it soon. Your employer's insurance carrier will receive and process a request for the paid family leave and make all payments. So family care, same thing, 12 weeks, 67%, same cap. You can take paid family leave to care for a close family member with a serious health conditions. That includes people outside the state of New York. Paid family leave definition of serious medical condition may include mental health, similar to our policy as well. Your employer's insurance carrier, again, will process those requests and make payments. The military families part, which I think, honestly, in my opinion, is often overlooked. But you could take paid family leave when you need time to assist with family situations arriving when a spouse, partner, child, or parent is on active service in a foreign country or has been notified of an impending call or order of active service to a foreign country. In a sense, if you get orders cut that you have to deploy or do something, you can take some leave to assist with preparations, impending call, right? Both while they're gone or to help them get ready to leave. So you can take time off. It didn't get into specifics as numbers, but I would imagine it's again the up to 12, but you're going to have to justify with your insurance why you need the time off. So that's a lot of great coverage, right? And here's the nice part, right? Clergy are not part of that automatic group that are covered. It says all employees, well, mostly, right? So the employees of your church are automatically covered, except clergy. However, a session can, and so they must opt if you want to take part in this. Again, you don't have to, but if you want to take part in it, the session has to opt to provide Family Leave Act coverage through the insurance company. It's often the same insurance company you could use to workman's comp and all those things. They generally will offer this insurance as well. It's through a New York State certified program usually. So there's thresholds to be met before clergy can be added. Clergy who work 20 hours or more must have worked for the congregation for 26 weeks. Less than 20 hours must work 175 days before they can be covered. If you start for a work with a new church, the same thing applies. So the biggest thing really, and actually our church just did it not too long ago after my son was born, and I'll talk about that. Obtain a policy. So it's really, honestly, the process, if you already have other employees covered, which some of our churches will, unless you're a small church and don't have any others. Really what it entails is you're just getting a hold of the insurance company saying, I have one more employee we want to add to the Family Leave Act insurance. Here's their name, here's their salary of what they're paid, so they know, and they'll tell you the premiums and you pay it. As far as part processing a claim, there's standard insurance forms that you can get through your insurance company and from the state. In a sense, all you're doing is filling it out and providing the reason, and you're turning it in of why you're taking off. So it's not hard. I filled this out because at the time our church thought I was covered. It took me, I think, about 15 minutes or so to fill out the claim form. I sent it in, and unfortunately, about 2 days later, we got notification it was denied because I was not covered, because our church never opted into it. I highly recommend churches doing this, right? Because what it means, so like we mandate you to be paid 100%. So let's say your pastor gets into a car accident, which we've had in this presbytery, right? Or somebody has to give birth, like I was having. Your clergy are going to get paid 100% pay and benefits for 12 weeks up to. What's going to happen is for however long the necessity exists for that to happen with the insurance company, they will refund the employer 67% of what they paid. So my church would have been refunded 67% of my pay for the amount of time I took off for family leave. That's a pretty significant amount of money. It's definitely something that I think is worthwhile. It's like any other insurance. It's not outrageously expensive. So I encourage everybody to look into it. And if it's something that's affordable, I would consider doing it. So when in use in relation to, again, Hudson River Presbytery Policy, it's basically doing an offset. So it's something useful that the church, often one of the biggest reasons, well, we can't do family leave because it's so expensive and it's going to bankrupt the church. Well, not only could you cover pulpit supply, you're actually getting salary money back if you do this. So in a way, this insurance policy can negate that argument about family medical leave not being something the church can afford to offer. So the last area I want to cover is Board of Pensions temporary disability. I took this information from the Board of Pensions. Specifically, I talked to Reverend Dr. Carrie Mitchell. She's our representative for this area. And so She's actually going to be at our April Presbytery meeting as well. So I definitely encourage you, if you have questions around this or other issues, I'm sure she would love to hear from you when she visits. And I don't say that tongue in cheek. She does enjoy working with churches. I've talked to her multiple times. In fact, when she heard I was doing this presentation, she called me and said, "Is there anything you need?" And we talked for a while. So definitely bring those questions if you have them. So Board of Pensions temporary disability. So I put a link there, but we'll send this out to make this available. I'll put it in the chat when we get done. Actually, I'll pull the link and put it in the chat. So this is insurance. It's temporary disability, but it's provided through an insurance company. So the Board of Pensions works with Lincoln Financial Group. It's automatically included now in both pastor participation and minister's choice. It wasn't always the case that the minister's choice, it is now included. Generally, your temporary disability benefit is equal to 60% of your effective salary. And it says up to $330,000 in 2023. So if you're a pastor in Hudson River, you make more than $330,000, I guess you're out of luck. Sorry. The benefit is paid weekly. Disability benefits are reduced by income sources, such as state mandated disability benefits and workman's comp. So keep in mind as you file for them that may happen. If you notice, other sources of income tied to your disability. So like if you file for disability with them, but you're also pulling disability from the state or other places, it may impact that. And even talking to Gary Mitchell, that we have no way of knowing 100% how that's going to be effective until you apply. And don't be dissuaded from applying, right? Because you already have this coverage. So if you're in those two plans, so definitely use it. It's up to 90 consecutive days after a 14-day waiting period, right? So again, I have a medical accident, a car accident, right? The first 14 days, you're getting 100% pay benefits per our policy. After 14 days, you file for this disability, temporary disability, and 60% of your effective salary. In my understanding, it should be able to be paid back to the church. And I don't know if Susan knows that or not, but you're already receiving 100%. So in a way, it will be a refund to the church, similar to some of the other policies. You can't double dip, right? There might be some ethical issues with that anyways. If I'm pulling 100% pay, but I'm going to file for disability, and then I'm going to pull an extra 60%. That's not the intent. So the church could pay you fully. When this file comes in, then the church would be reimbursed for that 60%. Definition for disability, again, taken from them, for the purposes of temporary disability. Being disabled means that you are unable to perform your regular work duties because you are sick or injured. Lincoln Financial must certify all disabilities. I emphasize that for good reason. We have good family medical leave policy here in our presbytery, but me as a father, I get no temporary disability for my child being born because I am not physically unable to work, right? I'm not sick, I'm not injured. And even for childbirth, I'm not going to say a particular number, but it's probably at best half of what we offer. So it's going to be on medical necessity, right? If you've ever learned, medical necessity is often a lot shorter than we think it might need to be. So it is not going to cover you as long as you need for childbirth, in my opinion, but it's better than nothing, especially for the church. So if you go beyond 90 days, then I would reach out, and I'm not going to cover long-term disability, but because it gets more complex for a lot of different reasons, but you would once you're that 90-day mark, then work with Carrie Mitchell, with the Board of Pensions around long-term disability, and how to utilize that. Again, our long-term disability, both within our denomination, is amazing. So do not write that off if it's ever needed. Again, note, our temporary disability may be able to be used in conjunction with our leave policy. It will all be determined around medical necessity because of sickness or injury, whether Lincoln Financial allows it, right? We don't have say over that. And the Board of Pensions has limited say over some of that. If it doesn't meet that medical necessity of inability to work, you're not going to get it. So you can appeal, but there's no guarantees there. So that's the summary of all the 3 types of our policies and New York State's Family Leave Act and the Board of Pensions temporary disability that can come into play for all of our family medical leave.